Start recording. Now it's recording, you see?
You're gonna cut this part out, right?
Yeah. Hopefully they can hear us. Start slideshow. Already,
Alright, so hello. Today we're gonna be talking about
Bro, you can't laugh.
I know, wait.
Bro, you can't laugh. You know. We literally have like 7 minutes, my guy.
Yeah, don't worry, alright.
Come on. You can do this.
Alright, so today we're gonna be talking about cellular signaling and transduction and D protein coupled receptors and the associated disorders with that. So the basic elements of the cell signaling system are a plant or animal cells are specialized to perform one or more unique functions. Many biological processes necessitate the cooperation and coordination of many cells to accomplish this. So the cells must communicate with one another in order to perform said processes. And this is known as cell signaling. Cell signaling allows cells to respond to a certain environmental input in the most appropriate way feasible. Cell signaling has an impact on almost every element of cell structure and function. On the one hand, understanding cell signal necessitates a comprehension of other types of cellular activity. Insights into cell signaling, and on the other hand, can connect a range of seemingly unrelated biological activities. The regulation of cell growth and division is also influenced by cell signaling. So, as a result, knowing how a cell loses its ability to control cell division and develops into a malignant tumor requires a thorough grasp of cell signaling. So, cells usually communicate through the use of extracellular messenger molecules. These are molecules that can travel a short distance to activate cells close to the source of the message, or they can travel the length of the body to stimulate cells far apart from the source. So, these signals are required in order for the cells to actually respond.
So in this text, we're talking about the extracellular messengers and their receptors. So a fairly large variety of molecules can function properly as extracellular carriers, including some of the followings, which I listed two. So the first one is amino acids, that can also be referred as amino acid derivatives. I believe it's said derivatives. So an example include glutamate. Excuse my reading. Glutamate, glycine, acetylcholine, epinephrine, dopamine, and thyroid hormone. So these molecules they act as neurotransmitters and hormones, and these can be found in chapter 15, 5.2. And then steroids are also derived from cholesterol. Steroids, which are derived from cholesterol. Steroid hormones regulate sexual differentiation, pregnancy, carbohydrate metabolism, and excretion of sodium and potassium ions. So, more info about the extracellular carriers are lipid bilayers. These basically, I'm over here. I explained the extracellular carriers, which are lipid bilayer, delimited particles are naturally released from almost all types of cell, unlike a cell cannot replicate. They carry a cargo of proteins, nucleic acid, lipids, metabolites, and even organelles from the parent cell of information. So in the pictures, I basically gave two examples. The first one is basically on how the parent cells gives off the gives off the neurotransmitter. They spread out neurotransmitters to the receptor. So the parent cell will be the top one, and then the bottom will be the receiver. And basically, those neurotransmitters are going into those little, forgot those little pockets. They stay open, and then once the neurotransmitters go in, they close, and then that's basically they received it once they close, and then I also listed a few other examples of neurotransmitters like ester, amino acid, uh, aminize, I believe is how it's said, which is basically split into two, which is catecholamines or indolamines. And then basically um, they have what they target. Those neurotransmitters, the ones that I just named in here, they basically have listed up what they target, and yeah. So the first one goes depression, Alzheimer's disease, dementia. Amino acids basically target seizures, neurodegeneration, cognitive dysfunction, stroke, depression, and then let me see, catecholamine. Why do I say that? Controls basically catecholamines. They go on in these medications, which is epinephrine, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Wow, I cannot produce not. Oh, what did I do? How do you go back? Okay, yeah. And yeah, so those medications they target Addison's disease, palpitation, Parkinson's disease, high blood pressure, and last of all, indolamines, which they go on in the medications serotonin and histamine, which treat and targets, not treat, but just target schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, OCD, immune system disorder, and Parkinson's disease, as well as seizures. And then the G protein coupled receptors, which is also known as GPCRs, or receptors are a they're a large receptor family with 7 transmembrane helices. These receptors convert the binding of extracellular signaling chemicals into GTP binding protein activation. So these were also explored on chapter 8 and 9 in relation to vesicle budding and fusion. And in chapter 9, in relation to microtubule dynamics, and also chapter 8 and 11 in relation to protein synthesis. And in chapter 12 in relation to nucleotoplastic transport. And in that chapter, we look at the involvement in transmitting messages along cellular information circuits. So in the 2 examples I give out, as I mentioned earlier, these large receptors are a family of 7 transmembrane helices. So in both pictures, they're listed out. The 7 helices are listed out. And in the first one, it gives a little example on how, for example, a protein agonist goes in and tags in basically binds into the agonist binding site. And I believe on the extracellular domain part, in that part, I believe that's basically where it gets released. I was trying to get some more information on that, but I couldn't really find too much. And then the second picture is basically the 7 transmembrane helices shown again, and it's basically the same. It's basically the same picture, but on the second one, it just shows up more to depth on the helices and the names and the involvement in transmitting messages. And yeah, back to Luis.
Alright, so disorders associated with G protein coupled receptors. So, because G protein coupled receptors are engaged in a wide range of physiological functions, both directly and indirectly, they are very critical in cellular communication, and they are the target of more than 60% of all currently prescribed medications. GPCR mutations can cause diseases including retinitis pigmentosa, hypo and hyperthyroidism, nephrogenic diabetes, insipidus, Alzheimer's, various reproductive problems, and even carcinomas. Carcinoma is a type of cancer that starts around the skin, and it could be spread over the body. So it could be very serious if it's not treated. Over 600 inactivated and almost 100 activating GPCR mutations have been reported to date, causing more than 30 distinct human illnesses. And given that we are so similar to mice, and they have over 160 GCPRs, the number of human diseases is predicted to rise.
And then on this slide, I went on a little deeper on some of the disorders of GPCR, and I found out that actually Alzheimer's has an effect on that. The GPR has an effect on Alzheimer's. Basically, one of the illnesses that stand out for me associated with GPCR is Alzheimer's. Numerous studies have presented evidence that implicate CPRs in the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease and in multiple stages of the hydrolytic processing of amyloid protein precursor, also known as APP. A precursor protein is involved in the formation of amyloid plaques found in the AD patient's brain. AD, that's basically referring to Alzheimer's. And in here, I posted two pictures for an example. So the first one, it just shows a normal brain and then the Alzheimer's brain and the effects. So the effects are very, very distinctive. You can see how the Alzheimer's brain is kind of like shrinks, the cortex shrinks, the size in general shrinks, and yeah, pretty much everything, as well as the hippocampus, all of that basically gets smaller and smaller due to the neurotransmitters just dissolving, as well as the white matter, ventricles, all that. And then the second picture, I found this picture that basically explains on how the affected of AD regions are, and how GPCR, which I explained on how it's affected, but in the picture also shows basically what I said in there. It might not be too clear, but this is the best picture I could post that relates to the evidence that implicates on the GCPRs on Alzheimer's. And yeah, it goes on to neurodegeneration, neurodegeneration, and basically it's just the neurotransmitters dissolving, and then also that converts into also loss of synapses connections, and yeah, that's all symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. So yeah, that is it. What do you worse? Please play it back just a little, just quick, so we can.